When you have a show about gratitude, you've got to be grateful for your sponsors. And in our life of gratitude, we all have guides. Somebody that guided us through our lives, that made us appreciate those things that we have. And that's why I'm so delighted and so grateful for our sponsor, Life Guides. Life Guides is a peer-to-peer community that helps people navigate through their day-to-day stressors by providing a place of empathy, listening, wisdom, and support with a guide who has walked in your shoes, experiencing the same challenge or life experience as you. A true life guide. And because you're listening to our gratitude podcast, if you go to their website, lifeguides.com/schedule a demo and add the code HEALTHY2021. The code is HEALTHY2021 in the free text box. You'll get 2 months of their services for free. 2 months for free. So sign up, show your team you care, get a life guide. Be grateful for those guides in your life, as I am grateful for our sponsor, Life Guides. Hey, welcome to Leading with Gratitude Live. I'm your host, Chester Elton, the apostle of appreciation. And today I'm coming to you from the new gratitude epicenter of the universe, Old Forge, New Jersey. So my video is a little pixelated because a nor'easter came in and I'm working off satellite Wi-Fi. And every now and again, if it gets really bad, our wonderful producer, Brent Klein, is going to throw up this headshot. And that's when you know that the Wi-Fi got hit by the nor'easter. It is the year of COVID and the year of crazy. Well, listen, we love to have you as part of our gratitude community. We always say, give us 30 minutes. We'll give you great information, great, statistics, and we'll give you a roadmap on how to create a life of gratitude at work and at home. We're live streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all those wonderful channels. This podcast is based on our new book, Leading with Gratitude Live, available at fine bookstores everywhere. But what makes this show great is our community that tunes in and our wonderful guests. And today I want to introduce you to my new friend, the lovely, the talented Dr. Natalie Baumgartner. Let me tell you a little bit about Natalie as I read through her brief bio. Dr. Natalie Baumgartner is an engagement and culture thought leader, an evangelist. She has spent her career translating engagement and culture research into a SaaS-based software, helping organizations to achieve high performance. Dr. Baumgartner holds her PhD in clinical psychology with a specialization in strength-based psychology. She serves on several boards, including that of the Consulting Psychology Division of the APA, and has long advised senior leaders on issues related to culture and engagement. Dr. Baumgartner is a popular speaker, regularly engages audiences on topics related to the employee experience, including a TEDx talk on the importance of culture fit. She is the lead person on culture for the wonderful company Achievers. And it is a delight for me to welcome to the show my new friend and becoming very good friend, Dr. Natalie Baumgartner. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Hi, Chester. So glad to be here with you.
Excellent. We get people coming in from all around the world to tune into our show. We've got Ikadar from Pakistan. We've got MD from Bangladesh, Ibrahima from Dakar. We've got Manzia from Canada, Izasan from Morocco, Nevin from Istanbul to Shakilar, 80 from Nigeria. We got a real international crowd here today. And by the way, as you listen to the show, I know you're going to have a lot of questions for Dr. Baumgartner. Put it in the chat box, and then we will throw it to our wonderful Command Question Control Center in Wichita, Kansas, the lovely and talented Janice Perkins. If there she is, wave to the crowd. As always, we want to thank Brent Klein, our producer, and Christy Lawrence, who finds all our wonderful guests, and we say is the straw that stirs the drink. Oh, and we've got Angela tuning in from Houston. Great, we've got somebody in the Northern Hemisphere. Hey, listen, as we kick things off, introduce yourself and your background and your role at Achievers at the Workplace Institute, which I know is doing fascinating work.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I usually refer to myself, frankly, as just a culture and engagement nerd. I've spent my entire career focused primarily on organizational culture. I'm a clinical psychologist by training, but I hopped right into the world of consulting and worked with senior leaders on helping to develop high performance organizations by really focusing on culture and figuring out how to align their culture, how to merge cultures. And then I live in Boulder, Colorado, which is home of every entrepreneur that ever there was. And so about 10 years ago, had the opportunity to join a couple of them to develop a software company to bring culture measurement to life. And that platform was called RoundPegg. And we spent several years building that, and it was acquired later by Achievers, which is where I work now. And Achievers is an employee engagement and culture platform that's specifically focused on changing the way the world works. So I'm like I said, I'm truly a culture and engagement nerd and loving every minute of it.
I love the mission of Achievers to change the way the world works, make it more engaging, make it more fun, make it more rewarding. So talk about the organizational cultural alignment. What does that mean and why does it matter? As long as you're hitting your goals and you're making money, why is culture so important?
Yeah, well, culture is truly the backbone of organizations. And I think oftentimes I know I don't need to spout the virtues of culture to you, Chester, but I think oftentimes in organizations, we shy away from culture because it feels like an important but kind of fuzzy and nebulous concept, hard to wrap our arms around. And I really try to keep it simple. I think of culture simply as how you do things in your organization. It's a small set of values. I recommend 4 to 6. I get pretty specific about that small set of values that really describe the way you want to do your business. And alignment refers to the extent to which everything you do in your company is consistent with those values. How you hire, how you engage, how you develop the people in your organization, how you recognize. And we know that the more that an organization aligns their business practices with their personal and unique organizational values, we see great things happen. Higher levels of employee engagement, lower levels of turnover, higher levels of productivity and profitability. In fact, those companies that have high culture alignment are 6 times more profitable than their competition. So it's not fuzzy and nebulous when you get down to brass tacks like that.
We often say culture is the soft stuff. And sometimes people say, hey, we do hard stuff here. And I say, look, the soft stuff is the hard stuff, and when you get the soft stuff right, the hard stuff gets easier. Well, I know you like to make things really simple. And so when you talk about culture, you talk about 3 things in particular. You talk about communication, recognition, and action. So let's break those down a little bit. So talk to us first about communication.
Sure. So, and you had asked about the Workforce Institute, and the Workforce Institute is our home within Achievers for our data scientists, our researchers, our culture and engagement experts, and we exist. We are cross-functional team because we place such high importance on using science to inform our technology, our thought leadership, all of how we drive engagement and how we support cultures. And so those 3 pillars that you just mentioned came through our culture alignment research model and are really the backbone of how you bring culture alignment to life. So if we start with communication, organizations are pretty good at saying, here are our values. They're on most companies' websites, oftentimes on the wall, if anyone can remember what the wall looks like now that we've all been at home for nearly a year. But, that's not enough. So having your values shared is not enough. To truly align your organization, we need to be talking about our values all the time. And that's why it's important to keep it simple, right? If we have 17 values, it's hard to talk about them all the time. We can't remember them. We can't use them. But if we keep it simple and we have a small set of values that are really important to us as an organization, then what we need to be doing is ensuring that every communication, all the ways in which we communicate, have those values woven into them. So, our emails that we send out, the presentations that we provide at org-wide meetings, making sure that we are presenting, screenshots of moments when those values have really come to life within our organization. At Achievers, I proposed to my boss, our CEO, that when each town hall we have those quarterly, that we make sure that we're focusing on one of our core values, that we're really diving in deep, sharing stories about how that value really plays out in our company, and bring it to life through our communication, through the words we use. And that's important for that to exist all the way down the road.
Yeah, I love your idea. Vision is who you want to be. Values is how you're going to get there. And we were dealing with a company one time years ago. We said, "What are your core values?" And they said, "Well, we've got 12." I said, "You've got no core values. 12 is way too many." I said, "Moses only had 10, and nobody can remember those either." Well, as we anticipated from our wonderful gratitude community, we've got a question. We're going to throw it to Wichita, Kansas, to our lovely and talented Janice Perkins, who's going to tell us all about, or ask the first question. Stump the expert. Go ahead, Janice.
I didn't know this was a challenge. Okay, this is from Islam, who is a student at Boston College. And his question for you, Natalie, is how can you have more enjoyment in your work or position?
Oh, gosh, I love that question. Well, I think there are probably about as many answers to that question as there are minutes left in our podcast. That's a great one. I think, though, that when people are really thriving at work, they thrive because they find meaning and purpose in the work that they're doing, and they are aligned. Their personal values are aligned with the core values of their organization, so that there's great continuity. I feel like the things my company is focused on is meaningful, and they're doing it in a way that's aligned with who I am. And then third, that my work is recognized. We know that recognition remains the single most powerful driver of employee engagement. And so making sure that, I know that people appreciate and value me for who I am and for what I do. I would say those are the top three in my book.
And a perfect segue into your next pillar, which is all about recognition and how that fits into a great culture. You said it's the top driver. There are a lot of people still don't believe that, that money is the best motivator. And if you want people more engaged, you just pay them a little more. So debunk it for us, doctor.
You bet. Well, there's definitely plenty of science behind the fact that recognition drives engagement more than financial compensation. But I know that I get it. I get that we're all sitting there going, yeah, but I'm pretty motivated by knowing that my time is well spent and then I'm being compensated appropriately. I think of money as kind of table stakes. You need to be compensated appropriately, but money rarely keep someone in a job where they are disengaged and where they're unfulfilled. And I will tell you that I moved from the world of culture and then evolved into recognition over the past 5 years when I joined Achievers. And I was really floored when I started to look at the data in terms of how much recognition impacts people's day-to-day, capacity to thrive at work. And I think it speaks to just the most human element that exists within each of us, which is to be known, to be seen, to be appreciated. And I think that because it's so fundamental to being human, that it overrides just about everything else.
Isn't it interesting? I will often say that compensation is a great satisfier. Recognition is a great engager. Well, the questions are starting to roll in. So let's throw it back to Wichita, Kansas. We got a couple more. Janice, what are people asking?
Okay, we have quite a few questions here. One is Amr in Cairo wants to know some new and creative ideas to help people enjoy their time at work.
Oh, I love that. Well, I know work is for most of us different in terms of its location than it used to be. So I think that these questions, I'm hearing a little bit of a theme of like, how do I have fun at work and how do I get engaged? And I think, and I can relate, right? We're like, either I'm actually really fortunate in this moment to be in my home, my office, but usually I'm at home with my 3 children running around, and it's a little bit like working in the middle of a hurricane, but so not boring. But when we talk about fun, I think I think the fun that happens at work happens through 2 main avenues. One is connecting with people we really enjoy, and we're all kind of missing out on that real in-person rich connection that we're used to, and that's so fulfilling. So but it doesn't negate the fact that any connection we find is powerful. So the Workforce Institute, we just released our 2020 culture report. And we found that people, about over 1,000 individuals around the world reported on, what did they need in this pandemic? And the number one ask was more connection, more time with people at work. And so I would say to you, I know you're sick of Zoom, all of you, but reach out, connect with folks, because there's no replacement for that. And then the second piece is continuing to find meaning every day in what you're doing. So little bits of meaning go a long way to fueling all of us.
Yeah, I think that this point about COVID, losing that connection, being forgotten, not being included, we're getting a lot of questions about that. So I'm going to keep sending it back to you, Janice. We got lots of questions coming in. This is where it gets fun. So keep putting, your questions in the question box. We'll get to as many as we can. Janice, you're up.
I love this one from Ant in London. And he says, in COVID and cost-cutting times, how should an organization keep culture high on the agenda?
Yes, excellent. Because the beauty of culture is that in a way, it doesn't require much financial investment at all. It mostly requires intention and focus. So again, clarifying your values, talking about your values, talking about ways that you've operated inside of your values. So an example might be, we had to make a decision about, we have more limited resources than we used to, where to invest our resources, where to invest our money. And we made a decision that was in alignment with our values. We went through that at Achievers. Like all organizations, we're making sure that we're being fiscally responsible in an age when who knows what's to come. And we, as we made our game plan, should we have to enact it, we talked long and hard about how do we put people first. So people first is our number one value at Achievers, and we really challenged ourselves with making that true. So one is just talking about your values, making decisions in alignment with your values. That's the best thing that you can do for your culture. And then recognizing, I know we just chatted about that, but values-based recognition. So recognizing people for behaving in ways that are consistent with your values doesn't require any money. You don't have to use funds to say thank you. I know that there's a lot of benefit of sometimes linking recognition with reward, but it's not necessary. And so you take those values, your however many values you have, hopefully not more than 6, and make sure that you are recognizing people in your organization for behaving in ways that are aligned with those values. One team, people are coming together to solve problems, or be bold. That's one of our other values at Achievers. So people are thinking outside of the box, taking risks. Those are all great ways to, impact your culture without money.
Excellent. So I've got 2 questions for you really quick. First one is, so what was the most meaningful recognition that you received? And what is your favorite no-cost, low-cost way to give recognition in the workplace? That doesn't cost a lot of money. Well, so what's your favorite way? So again, what was the best recognition you ever got? What's your best low-cost, no-cost mechanism to say thank you?
Oh gosh, my best recognition. I think my best recognition was from an individual that I worked with who was new in her career and really interested and fascinated in the world of culture, not in the Workforce Institute. So, someone, in the biz, and she sent a recognition and just, thanked me for taking the time to basically nerd out with her. And the reason it was meaningful to me is that, one, that it showed me that, that there's importance in the work that I'm doing and we're doing at Achievers, and specifically in the Workforce Institute, that it was, valued. But then also that I could see that someone who may not have had awareness, a sense of awareness around the importance of engagement, now had that. So the person was one of our engineers, one of our developers, and I felt like we were really moving the needle in the world of expanding our awareness around why culture and engagement are so important in business, not just nice to haves. So I think that was one of my favorites. And low cost ways. I actually was just talking this morning about, so personally, I love receiving and sending handwritten notes of gratitude. And I don't do it anywhere near as much as I used to. I feel like I have far less time on my hands, but I was sharing a story this morning about a colleague of mine who's a senior executive in a travel and leisure company, who sent me a note several years ago, and it still sits on my desk because it was 3 lines long, but it was so powerful and meaningful. And so I think that the power of a handwritten note cannot be underestimated.
I love that. I love writing handwritten notes, and I love getting them. Let's face it, your mail isn't that interesting these days, right? It's bills, it's catalogs. You get that colored envelope. That's why I like this time of year. You're getting all those holiday cards, and you get to reconnect with friends. Well, what I love about what we're doing here on this LinkedIn Live show, and what you're doing with your work and our writing, is people that are students of leadership. They read books, they invest in themselves. And I want to just take a minute to give a shout out to our friends at Methods. They've got an amazing online training system. And we really encourage you to go there. I've got a program on there. It's www.methodsof.com. Marshall Goldsmith is there. Martin Lindstrom, one of the great, marketing minds in the world. And if you use our Methods 2020 code, you get 50% off. So if you're looking over the holidays to make an investment into yourself and become a better leader, learn how to build these thriving cultures that Dr. Baumgartner is talking about, this is a great place for you to go. Take a screenshot so you won't forget. It's Methods of, and the use code is Methods 2020 at checkout. Well, listen, it's always great to talk about, recognition and culture and engagement. Our book is Leading with Gratitude. Is there a difference between recognition and gratitude in your view?
It's something that I've actually given a lot of thought to over the last couple of years. I was asked this question probably about 2 years ago, and it really gave me pause. And, I think when the way in which we're talking about recognition, so recognizing someone within an organization for a job well done, when it's done well, is indeed gratitude. So gratitude, I think of being grateful, being thankful for what's occurred. And I think the very best recognitions have that as their focal point. The focus is not on the output, like thanks for, finishing that report, but on the individual. Thank you for all of the hard work that you did in researching and spending time after hours to put that together and share that with all of us so we could all learn a little bit more about that topic. That's gratitude. That's true appreciation for an individual and their effort and who they are. So I think when done well, recognition is a form of gratitude, but I don't think that's always how we're actually, employing it in the business arena. And that's something that I'm, really outspoken about, the need for us to make sure that we're really giving powerful recognitions that are indeed gratitude.
Excellent. Our guest is Natalie Baumgartner. She's Dr. Natalie Baumgartner. She's the head of the Workplace Institute for Achievers. Give us a shout out onto the website when people want to learn more about the Workplace Institute. They want to learn more about Achievers. Where should they go?
Yeah. So going to achievers.com/workforce-institute is the place to get more information, more thought leadership. We have lots of really quick sound bites we call our insight papers that are all research backed. We also produce 4 quarterly research reports a year. We just released our last report last week, which is the Manager Empowerment Report, which really speaks to how to truly empower your leaders to be able to engage and recognize and drive culture for the people beneath them.
Excellent. Okay, so we've talked about communication. We've talked about recognition. Your third pillar is action. So flesh that out for us.
Action is where it's at. None of this really matters unless we're acting in ways that are in accordance with our values. So again, we can give a lot of lip service to our great values that are on the wall or carved into the side of the building. I've seen that a few times too. But unless we're acting in ways that are in accordance with our values, they mean nothing. And so really challenging yourself as an organization to ensure that you're hiring people who fit your core values. I often get asked, well, doesn't that mean we'd end up with a company of clones? And my answer to that is that would be magic if we could actually figure that one out. We're really just talking about that small set of core values. So bringing people in who share those core values is really important. Making sure that you're developing people in accordance with those core values. If you say that collaboration or innovation, like our Be Bold or our One Team values at Achievers, if you say those are critically important to you, make sure that you're empowering and supporting your people and developing capacity to live those. Making sure, and then of course that you're recognizing and rewarding in alignment with your core values. But the action is about that. When you make decisions about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis in your business, you're using your core values as your filter, as your North Star to guide those decisions and to guide how you do things in your business. And it's truly critical in attaining culture alignment.
Excellent. Well, listen, we're going to go to Janice in Wichita, Kansas, our question command center. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So Janice, I want you to pick out your 3 best questions. And this is the lightning round, Doctor. So 3 questions, okay. 3 great answers. Wichita, you're up.
Okay, here we go. This is on the heels of action. So this is Rita in New Delhi, and she wants to know, what do you do when a leader doesn't practice what they preach about values?
Yeah, okay. Well, lightning round, I would first, that's the beauty of really communicating a lot about your values, is it's then easy to have a conversation about it and really speak to what those values are. Everyone should be aware of them, and then providing real world examples of what it looks like to be out of alignment and what it would look like to be in alignment. Sometimes people don't know. They need a path to follow to get there. So that would be my response to how to get someone more aligned.
Okay, second question is Kevin from Arizona. When leaders disagree on the direction of an organization, what's the best plan of action to ensure the company doesn't fall apart or employees get confused?
That's
Remember,
actually
Doctor,
one of the
beauties
of
the lightning
having,
round. So be quick.
Okay, core values. So use those core values as your guideposts, right? So challenge one another, making sure that you're using core values to make sure that where you're headed is in alignment with those, even if it means that not everybody kind of gets their wish in terms of direction.
Okay, do we have one more? Okay, Mihad in Bangladesh. How do you address employees that question policies all the time?
Well, hopefully,
that's a good one.
Oh boy, that's a hard lightning round. Hopefully your policies are in alignment with your core values. Again, core values can help you out a lot. You can lean back on them and say, I hear that, I hear that that's a challenge for you, but it allows us to fulfill our values of A, B, C, and D. So using your values as something to lean back on is really helpful in times when you're having trouble aligning your people in terms of how you do things at your company.
Excellent. Well, as we knew, the time would fly by. Great questions. Thank you so much for our gratitude community for chiming in from all over the place. My 3 key takeaways are: it's communication, it's recognition, and none of that matters if you don't take action. So thank you so much, Dr. Natalie, for being our guest today. You can find out more about her work. Everything's at the bottom there in the lower third. Go to achievers.com / help me out, doctor, / what?
Workforce-Institute.
Excellent. Shout out to everybody that tuned in from all around the world, and a special shout out, I noticed he's in the audience, to my good friend Gary Ridge at WD-40. If it doesn't move, and it should, get your WD-40. Hey, listen, stick around, Dr. Natalie. We'll do a little recap at the end, but we're here wrapping up. This is our last show before the end of the year, before the holidays. We've got a little message from our publisher at Harper Business, just a little subtle plug for our book. Alan Mullally, the head of the Ford Motor Company way back when, he said, what? I love this book. And then just a subtle reminder to buy me. Makes for a great holiday gift. Bar mitzvahs, anniversaries, you name it. Well, listen, we are delighted that you joined us here today. Follow us on LinkedIn, sign up for our Leading with Gratitude newsletter. No, I hope that during the holidays and as we wrap up this incredibly difficult year, that you'll be kind, you'll be grateful, and you'll be of service to each other. I always want to give a shout out to our wonderful producer, Brent Klein. He's in Austin, Texas. Nobody does it better. If you're looking for great online content, methodsofleaders.com to look for Brent. Back to Wichita, Kansas. Thank you so much, Janice, for being in our question command center. To Christy Lawrence, the straw that stirs the drink that finds us all our wonderful guests. And again, to our wonderful guest today, Dr. Natalie Baumgartner, head of the Workplace Institute at Achievers. Well, we've got a tradition and we're sticking to it. This is our last show for this year. Let's put everybody up on the screen, Brent. Let's dance it out. Have a grateful day. We're sure happy for you. Your best dance moves, everybody. I know none of us really have good ones. Brent just kind of does the head bob thing. Cheers. Be safe, be happy, be grateful. We're out of here.